The first 5 episodes of Jury Duty Season 2 Company Retreat have dropped, and already some people are calling baloney. And while I understand people's hesitance to buy into the show's premise given how many things are staged these days, I don't think it's far-fetched that Anthony truly hasn't caught on to what's really going on in this show, and I want to explain why. Even though I'm often the one calling BS on reality shows and internet videos purporting to be real, I do believe this show as it's being presented to us, that Anthony is truly in the dark. Now there's a big caveat here. As of the time I'm uploading this, only the first 5 episodes have been released, so everything I'm going to say is only based on what I've seen so far. As the show goes on, some of these points may hold less weight. First off, let's discuss Anthony's behavior. I've seen some people online say that Anthony comes across like he knows what's going on and is leaning into it, and I would say if Anthony's behavior seems kind of performative, it's probably because he knows he's being filmed, so there's some amount of mugging for the camera going on, just like how when you start recording people you're with and they know they're being recorded, suddenly they go into performance mode and start making goofy faces and shit. Anthony was informed at the outset that he's going to be recorded for a documentary, so he knows there's going to be some type of audience watching him. Also, he's been designated the captain of fun, and the group is reinforcing that rule, so he's making extra effort to bring some levity to the whole experience. Number 2, the setting. Everyone else's behavior makes more sense in the context of a company retreat. I think the first season of Jury Duty flew way closer to the sun with its premise because these were random people who didn't know each other in a setting that was extremely straight-laced and serious. It was way more suspicious how many odd things were happening in that environment. This time around, the premise being sold to Anthony is that everyone is from the same company, so it makes sense that the culture is more consistent in its weirdness. Also, this isn't taking place on a typical work week in the office, it's a retreat where the atmosphere is more relaxed and fun than a typical office environment. Employees are encouraged to loosen up and let their freak flag fly a bit more than usual, right? On top of that, these coworkers are ostensibly already familiar with each other, so from Anthony's point of view, they're accustomed to each other's quirks and eccentricities. It's understandable that they don't react to the weirdness as much as he does since he's new to all this. Number 3, Anthony's age. He's relatively young and inexperienced at 25 years old. He doesn't have much, if any, work experience to compare to. If he were 40 years old and had already spent almost 2 decades in the corporate world, yeah, this would all seem way more bizarre. But Anthony might be going, wow, I guess this is just what the real world is like. Number 4, editing. What we're watching is a highlight reel. Each episode is an entire day whittled down to the most entertaining 25 to 30 minutes. I'm presuming most of the time everyone spent together was just ordinary, boring stuff. An entire day composed of mostly mundane things punctuated by occasional moments of weirdness probably doesn't feel that crazy when you're actually living through it.
There's a lot of extra time that would not make a good TV show, but that Anthony is still living with our actors that seems pretty normal and like a regular company retreat.
Number 5, normies. Several of the employees seem to be playing the role of the straight man. They aren't contributing to the weirdness much, if at all. They're usually reacting to it like Anthony is. This is how I'd classify the characters so far on a scale of weirdos to kinda weird to normal. In the straight up weirdos category, I would put Dougie Jr., Jimmy, other Anthony, Kevin, and Claire. They're almost like sitcom characters. In the kinda weird category, I would put Amy, Kate, Helen, and Marjorie. They say and do some odd things, but it's more believable. Helen is maybe the closest to crossing over into the weirdos category, but her personality feels more like she's being funny on purpose. And then in the normal category, I would put Doug, Jackie, PJ, and Steve. From what I remember, none of them has said or done anything suspiciously weird. Probably the weirdest thing was PJ eating wasabi octopus flavored chips, which is not that odd. Maybe these characters will seem a lot different by the end of the season, but so far we've got plenty of normies in there to balance out the weirdness. Number 6, hidden cameras. Most of the cameras are hidden, so Anthony doesn't feel so much like he's constantly being watched. So in the moment, it probably doesn't feel like he is the main character with all eyes on him. 7, filtered candidates. When picking the person to be their target, the producers probably filtered heavily for candidates who are the least likely to catch on to what's happening.
I think it would be much more difficult to do this if you're finding someone who's really up on pop culture or entertainment in general. Anthony and Ronald both were not those types of people.
More than 10,000 applicants applied for the gig, so they had plenty of people to choose from. A lot of the funny moments in this show feel like something out of a scripted comedy, and if you've watched a lot of comedies, you're familiar with comedic timing, joke structure, and tropes. But if someone hasn't watched a lot of comedy, they don't pick up on that stuff. So you might be watching Company Retreat and going, oh, come on, that's like something that would happen in The Office. How would someone not know that was staged? Well, for someone who's never seen seen The Office, they don't make that connection. Some people have been saying, how does he not recognize Alex Bonifer or Emily Pendergast or Lisa Gilroy? Well, these actors aren't exactly super famous, so the chances of them being recognized are smaller, especially if someone doesn't consume a lot of entertainment. I have watched a lot of TV, and even I didn't recognize Alex or Emily. Alex looked vaguely familiar to me, but I realized that was only because he looks like if Anthony Jeselnik and Dane Cook had a child. He's apparently a regular on the show Kevin Can F Himself, but I've never seen that show, so I didn't recognize him. Emily Pendergast was in season 7 of Veep. I have seen a couple seasons of Veep, but I haven't seen season 7, so I didn't recognize her either. I do know Lisa Gilroy through her podcast appearances over the past couple years, but I didn't know who she was back when season 1 of Jury Duty released. 9. He seems authentic to me. At the risk of sounding like a bit of a dork, I think I've got a pretty good radar for when people are acting versus being authentic. I often see videos posted on TikTok or Reddit or something where almost everyone believes it's real, but I'm like, nah, this is staged. I can tell they're acting. So many of Anthony's behaviors and mannerisms are things that I've seen in real life, but never seen portrayed by an actor before. So if he's acting, I would say he's exceptionally good at it, like possibly the most genuine regular guy performance I've ever seen. But that's just my opinion. So with all that said, of course, it's still possible that Anthony is in on the secret and is just playing along, but I think it's reasonable to believe that he's genuinely being fooled.